وإذا
Go ahead.
وإذا لقوا الذين آمنوا قالوا آمنا وإذا خلوا إلى شياطينهم قالوا إنا معكم إنما نحن مستهزئون.
Thank you. Very good. So next we have Taha Nabavi. Would you like to read verse number 15 of Surah Al-Baqarah?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله يستهزئ بهم ويمدهم في طغيانهم يعمهون أولئك الذين شتروا الضلالة بالهدى فما ربحت تجارتهم وما كانوا مهتدين مثلهم كمثل الذي استوقد نارا فلما أضاءت ما حوله ذهب الله بنورهم وتركهم في ظلمات لا يبصرون صما بكم عمي فهم لا يرجعون.
Excellent, thank you. Ma'asuma, would you like to go next?
Ayah 19.
Ayah 19 of Surah Al-Baqarah, page number 4.
أو كصيب من السماء فيه ظلمات ورعد وبرق يجعلون أصابعهم في آذانهم من الصواعق حذر الموت والله محيط بالكافرين يكاد البرق يخطف أبصارهم كلما أضاء لهم مشوا فيه وإذا أظلم عليهم ولو شاء الله لذهب بسمعهم وأبصارهم إن الله على كل شيء قدير.
Thank you. Excellent. So these verses that we've read so far in Surah Al-Baqarah, they talk about believers and unbelievers and what are known as munafiqun, hypocrites. The believers are described in the opening verses of Surah Al-Baqarah as the people who believe in al-ghayb. Ghayb means the unseen. So one of the characteristics of a believer is that we don't pretend that we know everything and that we understand everything. We trust that there are certain things that we don't know, and Allah tells us through Prophet Muhammad, through the Imams, about those things. So we have to trust and believe in al-ghayb, and that is called iman bil-ghayb, believing in the message of Allah. Not because we know it on our own, but because we know it through Allah. And then the next attribute, وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. The believers also pray and they spend out of what Allah gives them. Then the Quran describes unbelievers. And it says that the unbelievers are those people who reject what they know to be true. And what happens is when you reject something that you know to be true, eventually it blinds you. And then you're not even able to see the truth anymore. So let's say, for example, there's a bad thing. The first time I do a bad deed, I'll know it's bad. I'll recognize that it is bad. But if I keep on doing a bad thing, eventually I'll start thinking it's not bad at all. I'll justify it. I'll think that I'm doing something good. And at that point, I might not even be able to see and know what is good for me anymore. And that is described in the Quran as the sealing of the heart. So it's important not to ever ignore our conscience. Because if I ignore my conscience once or twice, eventually my conscience might not tell me, and I might not even realize how much damage I'm doing. And then the Quran talks about munafiqeen, people who are hypocrites. And the Quran says these are people who try to fake their belief, pretend. And if you're faking or pretending something to fool other people, the Quran says you might fool yourself, you might fool other people, but you're not going to fool Allah. He knows. So the Quran describes 3 different groups: believers, unbelievers, and hypocrites. And we hope that we are, inshallah, going to be always with the first group and part of the first group. Okay, next, Rashid, would you like to read? Just for those who are joining, if you would like to read, put your name in the chat window. Go ahead.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون الذي جعل لكم الأرض فراشا والسماء بناء وأنزل من السماء ماء فأخرج به من الثمرات رزقا لكم فلا تجعلوا لله أندادا وأنتم تعلمون وإن كنتم في ريب مما نزلنا على عبدنا فأتوا بسورة من مثله وادعوا شهداءكم من دون الله إن كنتم صادقين فإن لم تفعلوا ولن تفعلوا فاتقوا النار التي وقودها الناس والحجارة أعدت للكافرين.
Good, thank you. And next, Brother Muhsin, would you like to read?
وبشر الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أن لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار كلما رزقوا منها من ثمرات رزقا قالوا هذا الذي رزقنا من قبل وأتوا به متشابها ولهم فيها أزواج مطهرة وهم فيها خالدون إن الله لا يستحيي أن يضرب مثلا ما بعوضة فما فوقها فأما الذين آمنوا فيعلمون أنه الحق من ربهم وأما الذين كفروا فيقولون ماذا أراد الله بهذا مثلا يضل به كثيرا ويهدي به كثيرا وما يضل به إلا الفاسقين.
Thank you. Ahsantum. And this is a very important message we have in the Quran. Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَسْتَحْيِي أَن يَضْرِبَ مَثَلًا مَا بَعُوضَةً فَمَا فَوْقَهَا. The Quran gives us different examples, and they're called parables. Parable is a Quranic example that teaches us a lesson, a moral lesson. And Allah says in the Quran that Allah is not embarrassed to give us the lesson or the example of anything, even if it's something small to us. And the word ba'ud in the Quran means either a mosquito or a gnat. You know what a gnat is? It's a very small insect. So a mosquito or a gnat. The Quran says that Allah is not embarrassed to even give you an example of something very small and insignificant, like an insect, for your guidance or to be a lesson for you. Now, some people, when they hear this, they come and they become guided, and other people become misguided. So it's possible for a person to read the Quran but not get guidance. And don't get confused by that. If you see that, there are people who go to Sunday school, or they go to the masjid, or they read the Quran, but they're not becoming good people, then don't think that the Quran is missing something. Allah says that the Quran is a book of guidance, but if a person is fasiq, they're not going to achieve guidance from the Quran. You have to be the right kind of person to get guidance from the Quran. If you are looking for guidance, you'll find it in the Quran. But some people, they go to the masjid just to pass time. They read the Quran just because their parents make them, or they read the Quran just to find things to question. Then they're not reading it for guidance, they're not going to get guidance. And the Quran describes what kind of person is not going to get guided from the Quran. Al-Fasiqeen, people who are sinful. And next, Muhammad Hussein, if you can read. Who are the Fasiqun?
الذين ينقضون عهد الله من بعد ميثاقه ويقطعون ما أمر الله به أن يوصل ويفسدون في الأرض أولئك هم الخاسرون.
Very good. So the three attributes, the three qualities of a person who is going to not get guidance. One, when God tells them something, they don't do it. Number two, when God says make a connection, they don't make a connection. They're not good to their family, their friends. You're supposed to connect to your family and friends, but they keep away from them. And yufsiduna fil ard. They don't worry about doing good in the land. You know how some people, they're driving in the street, you can hear loud music blaring from their car stereo. Maybe they're bothering people. So fasad fil ard is when you go around in the world, you don't do good, you do evil. Whether it's bothering people with your car stereo, or committing crimes, or acting, talking, dressing in a bad way, all of those are forms of fasad. Those are the kinds of people the Quran says who will not be able to understand the message. Muhammad, can you continue for the next two verses?
كيف تكفرون بالله وكنتم أمواتا فأحياكم ثم يميتكم ثم يحييكم ثم إليه ترجعون هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا ثم استوى إلى السماء فسواهن سبع سماوات وهو بكل شيء عليم.
Thank you, excellent. Taha, you're next. Verse 30 of Surah Al-Baqarah.
Okay. Give me a second.
Sure. So While we wait, Hamad, do you want to read if you're ready? Verse 30.
I'm ready.
Taha, you ready? Go ahead.
Okay. وَأَلَمْ أَدَامَ أَسْمَاءَ
No,
كُلَّهَا
the verse before that, verse number 30. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ.
وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَائِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خليفة قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك دماء ونحن نسبح بحمدي ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون وعلم آدم أسماء كلها ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين.
Thank you. Excellent. Hassan, you're next. Hassan Rojani.
Okay.
Yes. Kullu subhanaka qalu subhanaka la ilma lana allama almatanna innaka antal alimul hakim. Qala yaddamu anba'ahum biasma'ihim falama anba'ahum biasma'ihim qala allam aqul lakum inni a'lamu ghaibas samawati wal ard wa a'lamu ma tubadduwana wa ma kuntum takatumun.
Thank you. Excellent. Next, we have Hamad. Verse 34.
Which ayat?
Verse 34. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ.
قالوا سبحانك
No, verse 34. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا.
وإذ قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فسجدوا إلا إبليس أبى واستكبر وكان من الكافرين وقلنا يا آدم اسكن أنت وزوجك الجنة وكلا منها رغدا حيث شئتما ولا تقربا هذه الشجرة فتكونا من الظالمين.
Very good. Thank you. And Hania?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
فأزلهما الشيطان عنها فأخرجهما مما كانا فيه وقلنا bitu ba'dukum li ba'din aduwwun wala fil ardi mustaqarrun wa mata'un ila hin. فتلقى آدم من ربه كلمات فتاب عليه إنه هو التواب الرحيم.
Thank you. Very good. So in this page, we heard the story of Prophet Adam and his wife Hawa. They were the first man and women that God created, and Allah created them as a test for them. And Shaitan came to them and tried to convince them to do evil. Now, at that time, this was their first temptation. This was the first time they saw Shaitan and they believed his false promise. So they ate of a forbidden tree, and then they realized their mistake and asked for God's forgiveness, and the Quran says that Allah forgave them. And that's a reminder, first of all, we're all human beings because we're all the descendants, the children of Adam and Hawa. Second, all of us are also tested, and whenever we make a mistake, sometimes do you ever get the feeling that you want to pretend you didn't make a mistake? If your parents say, hey, did you do this? You say, no, I didn't do it. That's not a way to solve a problem. When you make a mistake, admit it, ask forgiveness, your parents, your friends, and if it's a mistake that is a sin, then ask Allah for forgiveness, and Allah forgives. So the solution is not to pretend we didn't make a mistake. The solution is to seek forgiveness. And in particular, if we do something that is wrong, then we ask Allah to forgive us. We are out of time. I see Murtaza and Musa that you wrote your name. We didn't get time for you today, so we'll start with you tomorrow. If any of you who are joining us would like to recite, then just put your name in the chat window when you join. So we'll go in order of people who are in the chat window, in the text window. That way, if somebody wants to just listen and doesn't want to recite, we won't call on them unless they volunteer. So Murtaza and Musa, will start with you tomorrow. Those of you who are joining for the first time, you can put your name in the chat window right now if you'd like, and I can note down your name to begin tomorrow, or you can write down your name in the chat window when you join us tomorrow, inshallah, same time. Look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And we'll end a little bit early every day, so you have a break before the youth session begins. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Reminder that we're going to do the second juz tomorrow, juz number 2.